into houses, into homes. And for them to try to force us out at this point, it's criminal. You know, it's just not right. That's right. You know? Right. So what we're gonna do is fight.
Save our homes. Save our homes. Save our homes. Save our homes.
Save our homes. Save our homes. Save our homes. Save our homes. All right. Sorry, bear with me, guys. All right. So now I'm gonna pass it over to Joy Foster, who's lived in the building, raised two of her beautiful kids that are here too. They're grown already.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for coming out. I've actually raised 3 kids here. They grew up here, came home from the hospital right here, forged relationships with friends. They went to PS 29 here. The residents here are an integral, vital part of this community. We patronize the businesses here. We participate in activities here. If any of you had children that came through PS 29 in the last 10 years, I don't know if you remember the talent show that they have there, which is one of the biggest community building events that school has had, and it was created by a tenant from this building. Ask me how I know. That tenant is me. We have every right to be able to stay in our homes where we've been for up to 30 years. We have friendships with people in this neighborhood who don't live in this building. We are vital to this community. This is our community. Yes. And we have just as much right to stay in our homes. As John said, these are not units. These are not dollar signs. These are our homes. We are nothing but pawns to Irving Langer. That's all we are, pawns with dollar signs on them. And if you remove us, where does the bottom become? Who's next? Because it's just going to keep going higher and higher. He wants to raise the rent to $4,000. What's going to stop him from taking it to $7,500? And what's going to stop him from taking it to $10,000? Who now? New York was known 25 years ago for being a tenant-friendly state. It doesn't seem very tenant-friendly to me now. Where are all the agencies that are supposed to have protections for the tenants that are here? Where are they? What are they doing? Everyone has their hands tied. Oh, I don't know. I don't know. That's your job to know. Why aren't you helping us fight people like Irving Langer? Help us fight people like Irving Langer. This is a travesty. It's horrific that human beings are being treated like this for someone who has enough money that he doesn't have to worry about anything just to have more. That's all we are pawns, and everybody else who he wants to bring in is a pawn. People are just pawns for him. Something has to happen to stop this. People have to stand up. People have to fight and speak out. If you don't, it won't stop, and nobody is safe. We really need to understand that. In order to keep people safe, we have to do something. We have to join together, and we have to fight. We can't stand idly by, or we just won't have homes. Where are we supposed to go when we had a few homes? When I moved here 25 years ago, what I paid for rent was actually quite close to the norm. It wasn't really much lower than what people thought it was. Low income, subsidized, whatever. It was actually quite close to the average price, a normal price to rent an apartment. And now those rents have increased over tenfold. Tenfold. It's not commensurate with people's salaries. It's not. It's not. It's a sick and twisted game that's being played for the gain of very few, the few at the top. Everybody else here is left to struggle, and they do not care. So the only way that we can save our homes is for the people who care, for us to band together and to continue to fight. We cannot give up. We can't. Say it with me one more time. Save our homes.
Save our homes. Save our homes. Save our homes. Save our homes.
That's why we're here. And now we're going to move on with this. I'd like to now introduce our New York City Comptroller, Brad Lander.
Let's hear it for Joy. Let's hear it for John and this just powerful tenants organization. Look, let's be clear. This is a battle for the soul of New York City. This is a battle for the soul of New York City, and now is the time for folks to show which side they're on. On one side are people like Joy and John and this whole tenants association, the people who live here, nurses and teachers and artists and working people who have made this neighborhood their home for decades, who have raised families here, who have worked for decades in our schools and our hospitals and our neighborhood businesses, who have made this place a community. And the question is, will it be here for them and for their kids, or will we allow greed to literally evict them into the street in a housing market with the highest prices on record, all for the profit of basically one man and his investors? That really is the question that is on the table today. You know, sometimes things are a little more complicated and there's multiple and competing forces. That's really what's at stake here. Like the families in this building, but also the vision of a Brooklyn where families like the families in this building are the ones who live here, where diverse people can live together, where working class and middle class families can afford to live in a beautiful neighborhood like this one, or the profit of a tiny number of people whose business model is seeking out buildings to purchase for the sole purpose of eviction for profit, of kicking people out when they can, because it's possible if you throw them out, if you evict them, if you don't worry about whether they become homeless, you could double or triple or quadruple or quintuple the rent or convert the building into condos and make a killing, even though you're already extremely wealthy and your investors are already doing very well, to put something in this neighborhood that there's already more than enough of, which is extremely expensive housing. So when I say this is a battle for the soul of New York City, I really mean it. Like, we are showing up here today for our neighbors because we have compassion for them, and these are my neighbors too, and I want them to be able to live in this community where they have always lived. But it really is a bigger fight than that. It is emblematic of what matters in our city and which side are people on. So I just want to make three points. First, I want us to speak directly to Irving Langer. And I'll say a few things, then I'll ask your help in making sure he can hear us. But let's make a couple of points. Irving Langer bought this building in 2010, and we can't read into his mind, so we don't know if even then he was looking forward to the day 13 years later when he would be able to throw the people that lived there out and make money on it. We don't know. Looks like that to me, but we don't know. Nonetheless, and let's remember, this is somebody who is on the public advocate's worst landlord list and on the highest evictor list in the city. So that is not somebody operating housing with the interests of working people at heart. Nonetheless, for 13 years, he has operated this building under the restrictions of the low-income housing tax credit program, and you know he's made money every year doing so. This is somebody who profits off the operation of housing. He has operated this building in a way that has been lucrative for him during those 13 years. So we know it's possible for this building to remain operated affordably with support from the city and state affordable housing programs, and to keep it being operated properly, profitably in that way. And so if Irving Langer wants to find someone who can buy it from him, a preservation purchaser we call it, who can keep it affordable, we know he can. Irving Langer, you know you can. But I want to make clear what's on the other side. Because if you proceed down the path of evicting people one by one and trying to vacate this building so that you can flip it into something different, every person here and every elected official that we can find and every city and state agency that we can bring into the fight, we are going to demand fight tooth and nail to make it as hard for you as possible. And this is a fighting force. I'd urge you to go talk to those folks at Greenbrook Partners who thought they'd be able to evict all their tenants in a few minutes, but did not count on this coalition to show up and make sure they're there still years later. Or go fight, go talk to the I can't use the words in public for how to describe them. The scum who bought the Prospect Park West Senior Building and asked how many millions of dollars less, we were able, Assemblymember JoAnne Simon, through our fight together, to cost them. And find out from them just how strong a fighting force this community is. It will not be easy for you to evict for profit. It will cost you a lot of money. It will be so much easier if you just go ahead and work with the tenants and work with the city and state and find a preservation purchaser. You'll make money in the purchase. The building can be operated profitably, and you'll wind up a lot happier. We may or may not be able to save your soul. There's other buildings in the city. I can't speak to that. But we will, at least at this building, make it possible for you to get out, to make money, not to do any more egregious harm. It'll go a lot easier that way. But that's I want to make sure we all hear them together. So let's just do this in a little bit of a chant. Irving Langer, you can't hide.
Irving Langer, you can't hide.
We can see your greedy side.
We can see your greedy side.
Irving Langer, you can't hide. We can see your greedy side.
Irving Langer, you can't hide. We can see your greedy side.
But we can also see just barely the other side too. So work with us. Take the opportunity to sell this building to a preservation purchaser. Make sure it stays affordable. That means we need more help from our city and state agencies. So I also want to say to the New York City Department of Housing Preservation Development and New York State Homes and Community Renewal, we need more help from you. You can't say we don't have enough tools in the toolkit. The agreement in 1993 said thus and so. We need you to use every tool you have to make sure it's very appealing for Irving Langer to sell the building to a preservation purchaser that keeps it operated for the people who live here, and very, very painful to evict everybody in the building for his profit, right? Yes. And finally, I do just want to make this one point which goes way beyond this building. Because there's a fight at the state level, and we're lucky to have our champions here, like Assemblymember JoAnne Simon and State Senator Andrew Gounardes, about good cause eviction and a policy in New York State that helps protect tenants from being evicted for no reason other than the profit of the landlord, even when it's murky whether their buildings are covered by rent stabilization. And sometimes people will say, well, I'm not familiar with that many situations where that happened. We could give you a long list. But today we're giving you one. Because if there was good cause eviction protections in New York State today, then it would not be Irving Langer's ability just to throw people out of their homes of 10, 15, 20, 30 years for no cause other than his pocketbook. So for today, we are here fighting. We're making clear to Irving Langer and the city and the state that we're going to do everything possible to save the homes of these tenants. But let's just underline one more reason why we must pass good cause eviction protections in Albany so that we win the battle for the soul of New York City. Thank you all very much for being out here. In addition to saying big thank you to State Senator Gounardes and Assemblymember JoAnne Simon, whenever I'm with City Council member Shahana Hanif, it's a good day. Thank you also to the Carroll Gardens Association, the Southwest Brookton Tenants Association, but most especially to the fierce and wonderful tenants of 63 Tiffany Place. Thank you so much.
People over profits. 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 People over profits.
Yeah, I think, is this working? Oh, I think I was a little nervous before. I forgot to thank everybody. Shahana, Hanif, Brad Lander, who's been helping us. I hear you're going to be the next mayor. That's a rumor.
Today we're going to say
I'm just hearing the rumors. JoAnne Simon, you guys have been amazing. You've been helping us for years now. This has been a long struggle. We've been fighting for about 15 years organized like this. He hasn't, just to elaborate on what he's saying, he has no good intentions of Irving Langer because he hasn't given us leases in over 8 years. So we're like on month to month. We've been begging for leases, asking for leases. He won't even meet with us. He won't meet with any of the agencies, whatever. So that's part of what we want here, is to ask for him to come meet with us. Show face. So you can meet the 90-year-old couple that you want to evict. Gil, where's Gil? Look at Gil right here. He just turned 80. Where's he going now? He's the chaplain of the 76th precinct, and he's also the vice president of the community board, right? It's a good man here. You're going to evict him, you'll put him in the street. Why? Make a few extra bucks. And, I'm getting into details now, but he bought this building for $5.3 million when he bought it. these brownstones are worth that much now.
Yep.
So he can make a handsome profit and do the right thing here. He doesn't have to do this. You know, because I always say, well, they got to make money too. I'm for that. We should make money. But he doesn't have to do, destroy everything in his path to do it.
Right.
You know, and how much is enough? If I had to make money like that, there's no way. I couldn't do it. You know, if I have to throw out old people, throw out sick people, throw out senior citizens, there's no way. And I want to thank the community for coming out. These are all people here that just love us.
Listen, this is our
good people.
territory.
See that?
You can keep the rich and the shit, but this is ours.
Look at that. You want a good interview? Interview her. Right there. You want a good interview. All right. Tanya? This is Tanya Tomlinson.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Today, I stand before you with a heart filled with anxiety. I'm filled with anxiety as what is happening to my home. Behind me, I've lived here for 18 years. When I moved here, I was living in my car and in full-time in college. If it wasn't for this rent-stabilized apartment, who knows where I would have ended up. Okay, this building saved my life and my neighbors. I want to say thank you to all the elected officials for their tenacity that took us here today. Grassroots. Miss Linda, thank you. When I moved here, I didn't know what head of household meant. This woman lived on the second floor. She taught me that. Okay? This neighborhood taught me things, and I gave it back. If it wasn't for this rent-stabilized apartment, there would be no Purple Glove for the fight against lupus. There would be no B. Cosmo, and maybe there would be no me. So, Irving Langer, I say to you, I am not a product, I am a person.
Say 63. Say 63. Say 63.
Thank you so much, Tanya. I just want to say, when Comptroller Lander was the city council member, he was still here with us at our tenant union meetings and working with us. So he's been here all along. And now I want to introduce the council member from the 39th Council District, Shahana Hanif, who, as soon as she was elected, jumped right in and has been by our side.
Good morning!
Good morning.
I'm Councilmember Shahana Hanif, and I want to hear the 63 Tiffany Place residents make some noise! If you are a community member supporting the residents at 63 Tiffany Place, I want to hear you make some noise. And to begin, when I say Irvin Langer, we are gonna say shame, 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 okay? Irvin Langer!
Shame, shame, shame.
Irvin Langer!
Shame, shame, shame.
Irvin Langer!
Shame, shame, shame.
Louder, Irvin Langer!
Shame, shame, shame.
We have heard from John, Joy, Tanya, and I know we're gonna hear from other residents. I wanna give a brief history of how I got involved. I wasn't always council member. I was council member for the last year and a half, and I got involved with my predecessor at the start of COVID, when we heard from residents with the support of Carroll Gardens Association, Take Root Justice. Give them a round of applause, please. And to think, as we were at the start of a public health crisis that would change New York City forever, there was Irvin Langer ready to displace these residents. A shame.
Shame, shame.
And on top of that, we've sent, over the last several years, since 2019 when I got involved, we are in 2023 now. We have sent countless letters. We have had countless meetings bringing DHCR, DOF, HPD, our Attorney General's office. Everybody's playing a game of hot potato, saying they could do it. These folks could do it. They could do it. This needs to end. This needs to end. Not a single agency, and while they've cooperated in us calling them to the table, they have simply not done enough. And so now enough is enough. We need them to get their act together for the long-standing residents of 63 Tiffany Place and bring Irvin Langer to the table. At the start of this year, I came with a letter, a printed letter this time, to see if I could meet Irvin Langer myself. Of course, that was unsuccessful. He is not here. He's a ghost. Hard to find, hard to pin down. And so enough is enough, and I'm so proud that we've escalated, because what we're showing today is our strength, that we won't just stay quiet. We have sent the letters, we've had the meetings, and right now, at this press conference, we are saying that we are going to escalate. This community knows how to organize. This community knows how to root for dignity. This community will not let anyone be abandoned. These residents are Brooklynites. These residents will live in Carroll Gardens. These residents will continue to contribute to the fabric of our beautiful community. It's one of the last affordable housing buildings in this neighborhood, as one of the few rent-stabilized buildings in this neighborhood. And so I am deeply committed to the fight ahead and ready to get louder with you all. And it is so, so profoundly beautiful that our elected officials, from comptroller to our assembly member to our senator to our Brooklyn Borough president to our public advocate, to be all on the same page and saying, we are going to save 63 Tiffany Place. Because housing will always be a human right, and New York City will always be a renter's city. Thank you all so much.
Well, next we have scheduled Christina Pichard, which last I heard she had a health issue and was not able to attend. I don't know if any of the other tenants want to say something. We got a lot of shy tenants. I'm shy too.
I would like to say a little something.
Doesn't seem like they're too shy to
I'm
be.
not that well educated, but for this crap, I had to say it. Come on,
Preach.
Hanif.
She lives in the next building.
Save our homes.
Actually,
Save our homes. Save our homes.
she lives in the building next door, but her daughter lives in the building, so she's...
My son bought me that one over there. I don't have to worry about going in the garbage. I'm not much of a talker, but my daughter lives here. She came to my house yesterday, hysterically crying. And she broke my heart. She's one of the first ones here. Besides me. And I think
be here, but also so disheartening to have to be here today with everyone here at 63 Tiffany, fighting to place, and I'm here in the fight with all of you. Thank you.
Fight, fight, fight. Housing is a human right. Fight, fight, fight. Housing is a human right. Fight, fight, fight. Housing is a human right. Fight, fight, fight.
Thank you so much, Senator Gounardes. And now I would like to introduce the Assembly member from the 52nd Assembly District, our very own JoAnne Simon.
Thank you, Joy. Thank you. Thank you, John. Thank you to Carroll Gardens Association and the Southwest Brooklyn Tenants Association, everybody here from 63 Tiffany, and everybody here from around the community. So People have spoken a great deal about this coalition. Well, this coalition has come together and is going to continue to work together to ensure that we keep people in their homes. There is nothing more important than to keep people in their homes. That is critical. The other thing I want to say is, Mr. Langer, you have an opportunity to be a good guy this time. Instead of the slumlord and the high victor that you've been throughout your history, now is an opportunity for you to set the record straight and say, hey, I can do the right thing. Do the right thing, number one, by stop trying to sell this as a condominium, which it's not. Misinformation is not a way, because that deal's going to get broken because it's not a condo, right? So stop trying to sell it as a condo. And we need our agencies to work together. One of the things we fight for all the time is permanent affordability, and this is why. Once upon a time, when somebody created a tax program, they didn't think beyond 20 years or 30 years. Mitchell Lama's an example of that. This is an example of that. So we need to work to make sure that those programs we have ensure permanent affordability. And we can change those programs. We can make them ensure permanent affordability. And we can do that maybe at the legislative level. But in the meantime, we have agencies that are the agencies that are in charge. They know that this needs to happen. They have been very sympathetic, but we need to help them with the tools. We need to help them be more creative. We need to help back them up, whether it's legislatively or whether it's with additional funding in the budget for those tax write-offs. Because the reality is that if we don't do this, there will be more 63 Tiffany Places. And I want to say something as somebody who's lived in this area for 40 years and moved to a neighborhood that, like John, thank you for that website and your description of how nobody wanted to live here once upon a time. I remember that. Nobody wanted to live in my neighborhood either once upon a time. And it is people like you that create the value in the neighborhood by living here, working here, creating community. You make it attractive to somebody else who might want to come here, buy a building, sell a building to somebody who earns more money, and it lifts up the community. But you created the value, right? The people at 63 Tiffany created the value. The only reason people want to come here and leverage their work and their dedication to community is because they have created value. And I just saw an article not long ago, the top 20 most expensive neighborhoods in New York City. 5 of them are in my district, right? So the reality is, if they have to leave here, there's nowhere else to go. Nothing here is cheap. Nothing here is reasonable, because there has been so much value created by the fine men and women who live here at 63 Tiffany Place and similar places. So I want to thank you for being here for so long, for dedicating yourself to community, for creating the value that makes you want to fight for this community and others to want to join with you. And I really encourage all the neighbors in and along Tiffany Place in this area to come out and support people here, because but for a quirk in tax law, you could be in the same situation. And we don't want to create more situations like this. We want to nip this in the bud, and we want to help people stay in their homes. So we will continue to be here. The gauntlet has been thrown out. We will be here, and we will hold Mr. Langer to account. Thank you.
The tenants united will never be defeated. The tenants united will never be defeated. The tenants united will never be defeated.
Once again, I just want to thank everybody for coming and supporting our efforts here. Assembly Member Simon made me think of a movie that I saw with Goldie Hawn from the 1970s, and she was actually, it was a scene of a very seedy neighborhood, someplace that people would not want to go. She was hanging out of the window, and that window was right over here on Columbia Street. So yeah. When I first moved here, there was this building and the building on the very other end of the block, and that was it. This was an empty factory. That was an empty factory. The one all the way at the end was a movie studio that someone was using. No one lived there. It was us and the other building. The one next to us in between was an empty factory. But people wanted to come here once people started living here. So you are absolutely right. This is our community. We are human beings who have lived in this community for up to 30 years and in this building, some longer before this building was ready for occupancy. So, Irving Langer, you're no more human than we are. Your bags of money don't make you a better human, a more worthy human, a better human. We are just as human as you. You need to realize that you are putting humans in danger of being homeless. If something doesn't happen, we have until December. December. And as you're hearing, this is one of the last affordable buildings in this neighborhood, and there aren't that many anywhere else, because when you look at the guidelines for affordability, they have affordable housing guidelines for families making over 6 figures. Where does the family that makes $35,000 a year fit in? Where does the family that makes $60,000 or $75,000 fit in when the limits are in the 6-figure range? Where are these people supposed to go? Your teachers, your nurses, where are they supposed to go? Your shop owners, where are these people supposed to go? This is real, and again, when they continue to raise that bar, who's next? Who's next? I want to thank everybody that came out here today. We really appreciate it. When you see these names on your ballots, vote for them, because you see who's coming out and standing up for you. Keep them in office.